long ages before the catastrophic deluge submerged the entire world in water, and well before divine judgment crashed down upon a sinful humanity, there walked a singular, unique man upon the earth, specifically set apart by God for a mission of extraordinary importance. This remarkable individual was named Enoch, a direct descendant of the lineage of Jared, and he was universally revered, not only for his profound intellect, but also for his mastery and skill in the arts of craftsmanship. His life, defined by unwavering righteousness and deep devotion, eventually captured the direct attention of the Lord God, and because of this exceptional faithfulness, he was bestowed with a rare privilege that very few, perhaps no other mortal in history has ever received. Enoch was whisked away into the most concealed and secret mysteries of the heavens, transported into the high celestial realms where the Creator himself resides. He became a first-hand eyewitness to the eternal realities, a place where all existence abides in flawless order and perfect harmony under the sovereign command of the Almighty. He experienced vivid visions of dimensions, where entities of pure light, the divine messengers of God, radiated a brilliance far more intense and blinding than the sun itself. He beheld the unapproachable throne of glory, encircled by a luminescence so profound that no human language possesses the words to describe it. And he listened to the celestial anthems of the cherubim, hearing the echoes of praise that reverberate throughout the heavens for all eternity. These divine revelations, which had never before been granted to a human being, marked the commencement of Enoch's incredible heavenly odyssey. He was the pioneer, the very first to document and report the existence of the 10 levels of heaven, a profound truth that has been preserved within the manuscripts of what is known today as the Second Book of Enoch. At the mature age of 165 years old, Enoch became the father of his son, Methuselah. He continued to live for another 2 centuries, eventually reaching the age of 365 years in total. Then, on the first day of a new month, a truly phenomenal event took place. Enoch found himself in solitude, resting upon his bed, when suddenly a profound and inexplicable melancholy washed over his spirit, weighing heavy upon his soul. Even as he drifted into slumber, without comprehending the magnitude of what was about to unfold, tears began to stream uncontrollably from his closed eyes. Then, without warning, 2 entities of truly supernatural origin manifested directly before him. They resembled nothing Enoch had ever encountered in his life. They were towering and majestic, possessing visages that radiated with the intensity of the noonday sun, eyes that blazed like consuming fire, and mouths from which flames seemed to emerge. Their raiment shimmered with the richest, deepest hue of royal purple. Their wings sparkled with the luster of refined gold, and their hands were as pristine and white as driven snow. They positioned themselves right beside his bedside and addressed him clearly by his name. Enoch roused from his sleep and, upon seeing them, offered a greeting. Yet he was immediately paralyzed by intense dread, and his expression morphed into one of sheer shock and astonishment. Sensing his terror, one of the beings spoke to him in a voice that was authoritative yet strangely soothing, saying, "Do not be afraid, Enoch. We are emissaries sent by the eternal God. Today, you shall ascend with us to the heavens. However, you must first instruct your children and your entire household on how they should conduct themselves during your absence. Let no one search for you until the Lord returns you." Without hesitation or question, Enoch obeyed the command. He exited his dwelling and proceeded to the designated meeting place. There, he summoned his sons, Methuselah, Regem, and Gaidad, and he shared with them the specific message delivered by the heavenly messengers. "Heed my words closely, my sons," Enoch declared. "I do not know my destination, nor do I know what lies ahead of me. But I command you, do not forsake the Most High God, for the sake of vain pursuits or false powers that fashion neither the heavens above nor the earth below. All such things, and those who follow them, are destined for absolute ruin. May the Lord bestow upon you the courage and wisdom to walk in reverence of him." He concluded his farewell with a stern instruction, "Let no man come searching for me. Only when the Lord permits it shall I return to you." Immediately following these final words, Enoch was hoisted up into the air by the angels. Borne on their radiant wings, they carried him from the surface of the earth to the heights, depositing him in the first level of heaven, setting him upon the clouds, marking the commencement of his ascent into the divine spheres. As he raised his gaze, he looked even higher, seeing beyond the limits of what mortal vision can typically reach. In what is designated as the first heaven, he was shown a colossal celestial ocean, a body of water vastly exceeding all the seas of the earth combined. There, he was presented to the elders and the cosmic rulers who are responsible for the governance of the stars. He observed 200 angels charged with orchestrating the celestial bodies and directing their trajectories across the firmament. With magnificent wings, these angels navigated the skies along the very routes used by celestial voyagers. Looking downward, Enoch spotted the massive reservoirs and storehouses of snow, protected by formidable and imposing angels. He witnessed the actual genesis of the clouds and saw their destination once their life cycle was complete. He was also shown the specific repository kept for the dew. Its appearance was like that of olive oil, lustrous and full of life, mirroring the splendor of every flower found in the world. These vaults were supervised by angels who managed their opening and closing in strict accordance with the divine will. Next, Enoch was escorted upward to the second heaven. Here, the darkness was more profound and oppressive than any shadow ever known to earth. Drifting within that gloom were incarcerated beings, prisoners awaiting their everlasting judgment. Their shapes were more horrifying than the obscurity itself, and their unceasing wails saturated the atmosphere. Intrigued by this grim sight, Enoch inquired of the angels who accompanied him, "Why do these spirits weep relentlessly?" They responded, "These are the ones who defected from God, opting to pursue their own lusts and rebel alongside their leader, who is now shackled in the fifth heaven." Overcome with heavy grief, Enoch observed as the prisoners acknowledged him and begged, "Servant of the Most High, please intercede on our behalf." But Enoch meekly replied, "I am merely a mortal man. How can I offer prayers for angels? I do not even know my own fate, nor do I know who might pray for me." Following this encounter, his guides conducted him to the third heaven. There, Enoch was situated in a resplendent land filled with marvels unknown to humanity. Trees flourished in abundance, laden with heavy fruits releasing rich, sweet fragrances. The sustenance there seemed to brim with delight and aroma. At the very center of this paradise stood the tree of life, the resting place of the Lord when he visits the celestial garden. This tree was of ineffable beauty. Its perfume was overpowering, and its hues shimmered with gold, crimson, and fiery shades. It bore every variety of fruit imaginable, and its roots were deeply anchored in a garden bordering the earthly realm and the divine. This paradise was positioned precisely between the corruptible world and the eternal one. From this sanctified ground flowed two springs, one gushing milk and honey, the other pouring forth oil and wine. These springs split into 4 majestic rivers, flowing gently through the Garden of Eden before dispersing across the globe, fulfilling the elemental cycle. No tree there was barren. Blessings overflowed in every nook and cranny. 300 radiant angels watched over the garden, their voices echoing incessantly in beautiful hymns honoring the Lord. Awestruck by the beauty, Enoch exclaimed, "This place is truly magnificent." The heavenly beings accompanying him clarified, "Enoch, this garden is reserved for those who endure in faithfulness amidst the harshest trials. These are the ones who reject evil, judge with integrity, feed the starving, clothe the naked, support the frail and shelter orphans. They walk justly before God, worshiping him with sincerity and exclusivity." However, there was a contrasting side. A black fire blazed continuously, emanating from a river of flame. The entire region was seized by scorching heat and biting cold, by insatiable thirst and uncontrollable shivering. Cruel fetters bound the damned, and the guardian angels were terrifying, ruthless, and equipped with instruments of torture. There, the agony was ceaseless, and the screams appeared eternal. Confronted with such a ghastly vision, I cried out in distress, "This place is horrific." The celestial beings escorting me answered solemnly, "This is the fate appointed for those who renounce the Creator. These are the ones who surrendered to sin, corrupted nature, and committed atrocities against the innocence of children." They are those who practice sorcery, engage in dark arts, and boast of their wicked exploits. Here reside the liars, thieves, those who sow envy and hate, and those who spill blood without regret. They curse their kin, exploit the impoverished for easy gain, and neglect the hungry, leaving the naked and defenseless to suffer in isolation. These individuals never knew their creator. They venerated lifeless idol statues that neither breathe, nor hear, nor see. They honored gods crafted by human hands, and now they face eternal retribution. This obscure place is their final recompense. After this revelation, the men guided me higher still to the fourth heaven. There, I was astounded by the luminous trajectories of the sun and moon, moving with exactitude and stunning brilliance. I compared their radiance and noted that the sun shone far more intensely than the moon. The sun traveled with breathtaking velocity, like a relentless wind that never pauses, day or night. It was escorted by 4 principal stars, each flanked by 1,000 lesser stars. 4 on each side accompanied its celestial route. In total, 8,000 stars attended its daily voyage. 15 legions of angels served it perpetually. At night, 1,006 winged beings appeared, led by angels, clearing the path for the sun to traverse the darkness with its blazing illumination. Special entities kindled it, maintaining the vitality of its flame. I also observed extraordinary creatures linked to the sun, known as phoenixes and Chalkydri. These beings possessed feet like lions, with tails and heads resembling crocodiles. Their bodies shimmered like rainbows, colossal in scale, each measuring 900 units. Each bore 12 wings like the angels. They stayed close to the sun, bearing its heat and moisture as ordained by God himself. I witnessed the sunrise in the eastern sky. It commenced its journey in sync with the rhythm of the seasons, months, and annual cycles, marking the hours of day and night with precision. There were 6 portals from which the sun emerged, each exactly 61 and 14 stadia in width. These were the gates through which the sun passed month after month, measured with flawless accuracy. The sun traveled through these portals in equilibrium, returning via the same routes as the seasons advanced. Upon completing its path through the 4 cycles of the year, the temporal pattern was fulfilled. The full cycle of a year was sealed. Then the men led me westward, where 6 additional portals mirrored those in the east. These were the sunset exits aligned with the same 365 and 14 days of the solar cycle. The sun passed through these western gates, and upon vanishing, left only the trail of its light in the heavens. Yet its radiant crown remained before the Lord, while 400 angels guarded that celestial glow. During that interval, the sun descended through a subterranean path concealed beneath the earth, resting for 7 great hours during the night. Half of its journey occurred on that lower plane, but in the 8th hour, it would approach the east once more, restoring its light and warmth. When it emerged, its intensity was fiercer than fire itself. At that instant, the phoenixes and Chalkydri, those magnificent solar creatures, began to sing. All the birds of the air flapped their wings in celebration of the light-bearer. And at the Lord's command the creatures chanted, "The light-bearer has arrived. He shines upon the whole earth. The God of the morning reveals himself in the sun's rays, and the sun rises again to illuminate the world." Together, the rays and divine light bathed all creation. The men then revealed to me how the sun's movements were calculated, and how it passed through those sacred gates marking every hour of the year. For this reason, the sun is deemed one of the most potent creations, with a complete cycle of 28 years before restarting its course anew. The men then unveiled another celestial mystery. Before me stood 12 great portals connecting west to east, through which the moon journeys at appointed times. The moon enters the first western gate beside the sun's path and remains there for exactly 31 days. It passes through the second gate, also for 31 days, then the third and fourth for 30 days each, the fifth and sixth again for 31 days. In the 7th gate, it stays for 30 days again, then 31 at the 8th, 31 at the 9th, 30 at the 10th, 31 at the 11th, and finally 28 days at the 12th gate. Just as it enters through the eastern gates, the moon also returns through the western ones, finalizing its cycle. This trajectory follows the 365 and 14 days of the solar year. However, the lunar year consists of only 354 days, leaving a 12-day discrepancy. These days are referred to as lunar seasons. These variations are balanced in cycles of 532 years. A quarter day is omitted in each of the first 3 years and added in the fourth to align the total time. During the first 3 years, the extra time is not tallied to prevent imbalance. Otherwise, 2 months would expand and 2 would contract. When the sun finishes its journey through the western gates, it returns to the east, restarting its path toward the light, a continuous cycle renewed with each sunrise and sunset. It moves swifter than any wind, spirit, force of nature, or flying angel. Each angel involved in this cycle possesses 6 wings and adheres to a pattern repeated every 19 years, divided into 7 sacred cycles. In the intermediate heaven, I saw celestial warriors exalting the Lord with drums and stringed instruments. Their voices never ceased. The harmonies they produced were so sweet and diverse that no human language could describe them. Their melodies soothed the mind and filled me with serene joy as I listened in reverence. Soon, the men led me to the 5th heaven. There, I encountered a countless multitude of powerful beings called the Grigori. They had human-like appearances, but their stature was colossal, surpassing even the greatest giants ever seen. Their faces were etched with weariness, and their expressions were filled with profound sorrow. No words escaped their lips. There was no worship in that place. Curious, I asked the men with me, "Why do they appear so silent and dejected? Why is there no praise here?" And they answered, "These are the Grigori, who, along with their leader Satanael, turned away from the Lord of Light. Others like them were cast into the deep darkness of the 2nd heaven. 3 of them abandoned God's throne and descended to a place called Hermon. There, they broke their sacred vows on the slopes of Mount Hermon. They saw the beauty of the daughters of men, took them as wives, and corrupted the earth with their actions. These fallen angels lived in impiety, sired violent giants, and spread chaos. For these transgressions, God judged them severely. Now they suffer for the fall of their brethren and await final judgment on the day of the Lord." I turned to them and said, "I have seen your brothers and witnessed the consequences of their choices. I prayed for them, but God has sentenced them to remain on earth until the end of this world." Then I asked, "Why do you remain here in silence? Instead of returning to serve the Lord, why do you not bow before Him, before His wrath is complete?" They listened to my words attentively and sent a signal across all 4 divisions of the heavens. Suddenly, while I was still with the 2 men, 4 trumpets sounded together with a mighty blast. The Grigori stood and sang with one voice, a deep, mournful, and moving sound that rose to the heavens before the throne of God. After this, the men took me to the 6th heaven. There, I saw 7 groups of radiant angels, shining as brightly as the sun itself. Their faces glowed more brilliantly than any known light, and all of them possessed identical appearances, garments, and demeanor. These angels held a noble task. They were responsible for maintaining divine order. They monitored the cycles of the stars, the movements of the moon, the path of the sun, and the equilibrium of the entire cosmos. When they witnessed acts of injustice or deviation, they issued commands and provided guidance. Their voices were like hymns, beautiful and powerful. With songs of praise, these higher archangels governed and oversaw all life in the heavens and on earth. There were also angels assigned to specific roles in the order of creation. Some watched over the seasons and years. Others supervised rivers and seas. Some cared for the fruits of the earth, while others observed every blade of grass, ensuring food for all living creatures. Certain angels had the sacred duty of recording human souls, noting every action, word, and thought of each life before God. Among them were 6 phoenixes, 6 cherubim, and 6 winged beings who sang in perfect harmony, ceaselessly. Their voices were so awe-inspiring that no human description could capture them. They celebrated joyfully before the throne of the Most High, as if time did not exist. Then the 2 men led me even higher to the 7th heaven. There, I was enveloped by an overwhelming light, and witnessed grand armies of flaming archangels, alongside invisible forces, powers, authorities, cherubim, seraphim, and thrones, radiant beings full of eyes and light. There were 9 distinct orders in that hierarchy of celestial glory. Overcome by awe, I began to tremble. But the men reassured me, saying, "Be strong, Enoch. Do not be afraid." Then they showed me from afar the Lord seated on an immense throne, exalted above all things. With reverence, I asked, "What lies beyond this? What exists in the 10th heaven?" And they answered, "That is where God himself dwells." In Hebrew, this heaven is called Aravot. In that sacred place, all celestial beings gather, standing upon 10 steps arranged according to their levels and functions. They bow before the Lord and then return to their places, singing softly in eternal praise to the infinite light. Around the throne were cherubim and seraphim, beings with 6 wings and many eyes who never depart from the divine presence. They remain before God, carrying out his will with devotion, while chanting, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. Heaven and earth are full of his glory." As I beheld all of this, the 2 men said to me, "Enoch, we were instructed to guide you only this far." Then they departed, leaving me alone at the edge of the 7th heaven. Terrified and overwhelmed with awe, I fell to the ground and whispered, "What is happening to me?" It was then that the Lord sent a magnificent being, Gabriel, the archangel. He appeared before me and said, "Be strong, Enoch. Do not fear. Come with me. You are destined to stand before the Lord forever." But I, gripped by fear, thought within myself, "Lord, my spirit nearly abandoned me from sheer terror. I trusted the men who brought me here. I believed they would lead me to you." Then Gabriel lifted me like a leaf, carried by the wind, and brought me before the face of the Lord. As I looked upward, I saw the 8th heaven, called Muzaloth in Hebrew, where the transitions between dry and rainy seasons are regulated, and where the 12 celestial constellations dwell above the 7th heaven. Then I was taken to the 9th heaven, known as Kuvachim, Kokavim. There are the abodes of the 12 zodiac signs fixed in the firmament. Finally, I reached the highest point of all creation, the 10th heaven, Aravot. I lifted my eyes and beheld the face of the Lord. It was like burning iron drawn from the fire, glowing, sparking and blazing intensely. The vision of his presence was indescribable. Who am I to attempt to describe the indescribable? The glory of the Lord is so great that no tongue can express it, no thought can comprehend it. I cannot count the instructions that proceed from his lips, nor number the countless voices that echo from his presence. His throne is colossal, not made by human hands, and is surrounded by legions of cherubim and seraphim who sing without ceasing. His beauty is eternal, and his glory exceeds imagination. Overwhelmed by such majesty, I fell on my face to the ground. Then the Lord spoke to me, saying, "Be strong, Enoch. Do not be afraid. Rise and stand before me for all eternity." At that moment, the archangel Michael came to me, lifted me up, and brought me to remain before the presence of the Lord. Then the Most High turned to his celestial servants and, as a test, said, "Let Enoch stand before me forever." The glorious beings around the throne bowed in reverence and replied, "So be it, according to the word of the Lord." Then the Lord commanded Michael, "Remove from Enoch his earthly garments, anoint him with my fragrant oil, and clothe him in the garments of my glory." Michael obeyed. He anointed me with the heavenly oil, brighter than any light, gentle as dew, with a sweet and comforting fragrance. When I looked at myself, my body shone like the glorious ones. I had become like the celestial beings. Then the Lord summoned one of his wisest archangels, Vrevwal, Prival, whose wisdom surpasses all others, and who records all the works of the Lord. The Most High said to him, "Bring the books from my storehouses and a fast-writing pen. Give Enoch the finest and most revealing scrolls." Vrevwal came to me and began to teach me everything. He explained the heavens, the earth and the seas, the elements and their movements, the patterns of thunder, the paths of the sun and moon, the seasons, the days, and the hours. He revealed the origins of the winds, the number of the angels, and how their songs are composed. He taught me about human life, the languages of songs, the divine laws, the teachings, and all the righteous praises worthy of being known. Everything I now share was imparted to me by him. Finally, he said, "Sit and write. Record every soul that will ever be born, and the places prepared for each one for all eternity. Every spirit was planned before the foundation of the world, and each soul is paired with another for 30 days and 30 nights. And so, obeying the command of the Most High, I sat down and wrote with utmost care everything that had been revealed to me. In the end, I completed 366 books, faithfully recording the visions and secrets entrusted to me. Then the Lord called out to me once again. With a voice both powerful and tender, he said, 'Enoch, come sit at my left hand beside Gabriel.' I knelt in reverence, and he continued, 'Enoch, my beloved, everything you have seen, all that has been created, all that exists, and all that is yet to come, has now been revealed to you. Before time began, before anything existed, I created all things out of nothing. I made the invisible visible. I caused the spiritual to take form in the physical world. Listen carefully, Enoch. The words you have heard, I have never shared them with any of my angels. I never revealed to them the origin of existence itself, nor the vastness of my endless kingdom. They do not understand how all of creation was called into being, but to you I have revealed it. Before anything could be seen, I was already walking through the invisible, from one end of what is now called heaven to the other. Just as the sun moves across the firmament from east to west, I crossed the void without rest, without pause, laying the foundations of creation, shaping what would one day be seen, and thus ended Enoch's extraordinary journey through the 10 heavens. He walked through realms of indescribable light, crossed the prisons of fallen angels, stood within the storehouses of stars, and appeared before the throne of the living God. He saw the fate of the rebellious and the eternal reward promised to the faithful. And behind every vision, one divine truth echoed with holy clarity. God reigns over all, both in heaven and on earth. Enoch was not chosen only for his righteousness, but to record everything he witnessed. A timeless testimony, a living message for every generation to come. It is a message of warning, of hope, and of eternal purpose. Now, one question remains. What will you do with this revelation? Will you ignore what has been unveiled or seek justice, repentance, and faith? Will you walk toward the eternal kingdom, or continue living as if nothing had been said? The Book of Enoch is not merely a chronicle of visions. It is a calling. It reveals the majesty of God, the gravity of judgment, and the glorious beauty of the divine plan. May each of us choose faithfulness, so that one day we too may stand before him, clothed in glory, just as Enoch was. Thank you for joining us on this extraordinary journey through the 10 heavens of Enoch. If this video touched you in any way, like, share, and subscribe for more content on the hidden mysteries of the Bible and celestial revelations. Comment below, I am seeking the kingdom, if you desire to remain firm on the path of light. May God bless you, and I'll see you soon.